comma develops open source ADAS software. I mean, you can call it self-driving software, but currently what we ship is something where the user is supposed to pay attention all the time. We want the software to be open source so that people have full control. The hardware is something you have root on. We don't have any access to your device in terms of that's necessary to make it operate normally. There's some telemetry that you can turn off if you want. The device is something you buy. You run open source software on it, and there's no cloud involved in making it work as an ADAS product. We're pretty passionate about making sure that if you buy something, you own it. If you run software, it should be open source, and you should be able to modify it. Or at least we shouldn't be able to stop you. That should be a thing that you control.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to Bitcoin Audible. I am Guy Swan, the guy who has read more about Bitcoin than anybody else you know. We got a really awesome treat today. So we have, and I can't even remember who it was. I should have gone back and actually looked him up, but somebody mentioned about comma.ai in a conversation and then tagged Harald. So Harald is the CTO from comma.ai, and this is actually a project I've been really interested in for a long time. But I never really thought about having somebody on the show to talk about it. And when somebody else mentioned it, shout out to whoever that was. I'll try to find the link and actually put it in the show notes. And thanks for tagging him, because this was an awesome conversation. But it's literally all we talk about is sovereign technology of owning your devices and the crazy novel idea of actually having a sustainable business where you make a profit and then you spend within your means. And I was really excited to have him on. Like I said, this is a project I've been following and been fascinated with for a really long time. If you're not aware of what comma.ai does, then you're really going to love this. This is open source, self-hosted, like your device assisted driving. So it's self-driving, and it plugs into, it's compatible with tons of cars that have been on the road for I think it's like 2019 to 2020. There's all the stuff is like drive by wire, and so many of them you can literally plug this into. And they have one of their first devices, he mentions, they sold 10,000 of. This is like such a cool thing. And it's you being able to own your smart car, so to speak. Their founder is George Hotz, who I'm sure you know by name, or you've heard me talk about in other contexts. But the entire project is just really cool, and it holds a really cool spot in kind of the world of robotics and in building sustainable open source projects. So I really hold them in high regard for what they've accomplished, because this is not a small feat to really kind of do what they've done. And so I was just really excited to have him on the show and just kind of pick his brain for a while about all sorts of stuff, really. And it was an awesome conversation. So get ready for this one. Now, real quick, I want to shout out, you got to get yourself a Bitbox Nova if you do not have one. And if you do not hold your keys, you should feel ashamed and embarrassed. And no, you cannot withdraw Bitcoin from an ETF. You own a debt. You own a promise. And I promise you, if anything goes sideways, you're not going to get anything. You're not going to get a fraction of what you are actually owed. And it will probably take like 10 years. So what you need to do is you need to buy real Bitcoin, get yourself a Bitbox 02. Use my discount code and affiliate link. Their whole stack is amazing. It's super easy to do. It's honestly a wonderful little experience. It is open source, of course. It is Swiss made. You have a beautiful little hardware wallet. I've got it sitting around here. Crap. I don't have it right with me. It's a beautiful little hardware wallet, and you you buy your Bitcoin, you withdraw it to it, and then you sleep like a baby. You have your keys, you have it safe, you have your device that makes it easy to get to, plug it into any device, and you've saved sats. You've not only saved your sats from danger, but you've also saved sats on it because you use my code. So check it out. Details right down in the show notes. Be a real Bitcoiner. Be a real holder. Hold your keys. And with that, let's get into today's chat. This is Harald, the CTO at comma.ai, sovereign devices in a subscription world. Welcome to the show, man. I'm really excited to dig into this. Comma is something that, and I'll let you kind of introduce the company and everything that you guys have been working on. But I have been, I guess, just in general, I've always been fascinated with technology, and then on another hand, I've been infuriated by the lack of control I increasingly have over it.
Mm-hmm.
Like this kind of like battle between convenience and whether or not I own it. I ran into this just the other day, actually. My wife and I like 21 Pilots.
Mm-hmm.
And we purchased their albums or whatever through Apple Music, iTunes, whatever you want to call it. And I have on and off had Apple Music subscriptions because you get them for free for like 6 months when you buy a phone or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And mine apparently ran out, and all the music is still in my list, but I can't listen to it. And I was like in my car, and I was like, wait, what? And come to realize that because it was purchased on my wife's account, and even though I'm like in the family or whatever, there's something I don't even figured it out yet. I'm just so mad that I'm just gonna go download all the music. I'm just gonna go pirate it, because if I'm gonna have to take time to figure out how to get my music back that I've already paid for, I'm just gonna pirate it and not use your app anymore. But I was just like, how have we failed so bad that like I have purchased music and I've lost access because the subscription ran out,
I feel like this is like a common resurgence of pirating exactly this type of stuff. I started pirating a lot more recently too, for similar reasons. Even when you bought it, it's just more difficult to log in than it is to re-download.
It so is. You have to go to my family settings and be like, are you the primary member?
Yeah, I know.
Oh God, I don't want to deal with that. I don't even want to. I hate that I'm somehow like asking for permission from you. But yeah, so in that sense, I found out recently, actually. I've always been fascinated with the idea of self-driving. Anybody going on a long trip to think that you could do something else, or like, split your attention a little bit, and have your car drive for you, especially in the age of AI when I can talk to my phone, is utterly fascinating. But I don't like the idea of buying a car that I don't like, Tesla, that can just be like remote shut off, and that self-driving is a $120 a month subscription. I'm so sick of subscriptions. But anyway, this little long intro rant of just kind of like where I've been thinking about and why I'm fascinated with Comma. But introduce yourself, how long you've been with Comma, and for anybody who doesn't know what Comma is.
Sure. So I'm Harald. I'm currently CTO at Comma, and I've been working at Comma for, almost 10 years now. I've been here for a really long time. So I've seen the company go through it quite a bit. And in short, Comma develops open source ADAS software. You can call it self-driving software, but currently what we ship is something where the user is supposed to pay attention all the time. It's just like FSD, basically.
Yeah.
And it's fully open source. So, if you wanted to run it on your own hardware, whatever, you can do all that. We also make hardware that obviously is optimized to run that on, that you can install in a car, and then you have like kind of modernish ADAS features on, let's say, a 2020 Toyota Corolla or something like that. And yeah, like you said, a big part of it is we want the software to be open source so that people have full control. The hardware is something you have root on. We don't have any access to your device in terms of that's necessary to make it operate normally. There's some telemetry that you can turn off if you want. The device is something you buy, you run open source software on it, and there's no cloud involved in making it work as an ADAS product, which is especially now that, I mean, FSD used to be something you could buy. Now it's a subscription. Now they can turn it off if they don't like you. They can turn it off if you do X, Y, Z. It's just kind of a lame direction to go for robotics. So we're pretty passionate about making sure that if you buy something, you own it. If you run software, it should be open source, and you should be able to modify it. Or at least we shouldn't be able to stop you. That should be a thing that you control.
Yeah. No, I'm fascinated by. Fascinated is not the right word. Infuriated by the fact that, the kind of promise of the future. We're getting so much amazing technology, but we're getting it in this whole, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy way, where it's also becoming this mechanism for some corporation that's 2,000 miles away to basically have a place in my home or in my hand or in my device. Like it's like, oh, well, oh my God, we can have our own little corner of this thing, and we can tell you what to do with it, and we can maintain control, and we can just have you purchase our network out into our influence out into the world.
Right.
And especially when people are literally prosecuted, like and know which founder knows all about, of
of course,
of just owning your own hardware and doing your own thing and then telling people what you did. And to think that you actually might end up in court about that.
I think I think it's a sad situation currently, but I think there's a lot of energy, especially with the AI stuff, that is inspiring.
Oh, yeah.
I think, the social media thing went down a very bad path, I would say, and I'm very upset about the current state of that. But I think with AI, with the new LLMs and stuff, I feel like the people think the stakes are even higher than they were before, and there seems to be a lot more drive. I think a lot of people are on board that making your every thought go to someone else's servers that is unencrypted, and they can read your every thought and then optimize that doesn't sound so appealing. So
Yeah.
I think there's hope that this changes, and I would like to comma to do its small part in robotics to make sure that there's at least some options in robotics that don't look like this too.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I generally think the march of technology is a 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Right.
And most of the internet era is in the stage of feeling the pain and pressure of the 1 step back and realizing what those consequences were.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have some major technological improvements and changes. Like, for an example, is like the music and being able to share stuff with your friends and family or whatever it infuriates me enough. I actually read a really, really great piece on the show called "Thank You for Being Annoying," but it was about the fact that like meaning and happiness is actually finding the thing that annoys you so much that you can't put it down. You have to like actually go after and do the thing. And so in that sense, like this is my thing, right? Is I hate when I don't control my own media and my own content. And so I probably took the very ill-advised or stupid idea to work on a development project around solving this problem and actually making P2P fun and not have the drawback, like not being afraid of servers or like attacking servers, but just putting servers in their place. Like, they shouldn't own the content. They should just be service providers, right? Which was a retarded task. But then I think about something like comma, and I'm like, who is stupid enough to think they can create self-driving cars and like a device? Like I think about like all of the problems that we've just had with our like tiny team and what is really not that big of a project but feels insurmountable, and then like to add hardware, to add like it just man, like what you guys have built is actually like just kudos to people who have like built something awesome that I want to use. Like it's super underappreciated, and nobody really gets the thanks of like, you just built something awesome, and that's hard as shit.
I mean,
you know?
it's also taken for granted a lot. I mean, back when I joined was extremely early. Like the basic things had been said, the basic plan was already kind of set there, right? Of we're gonna retrofit cars, we're gonna reverse engineer the car's APIs, so then we can control the car. And like this was like somewhat of an extreme and silly idea at the time. It's like, well, you're never going to be able to reverse engineer a lot of cars, right? Some of them might work, some of them might not. They're going to change over time. This is like an insurmountable problem. And yeah, obviously we didn't, the hardware at the time was like something you had to build yourself and 3D print and all these things. And now 10 years later, and okay, there's hundreds of models of cars that work pretty well that you can install this on. The hardware works. So yeah, I mean, it's been 10 years, so it's it's a long journey. But it definitely didn't seem easy at the time. Yeah.
Actually, walk me through what happened, maybe your history a little bit too, leading into Comma, and then kind of where Comma was when you got on board, and kind of that journey, especially in the context of like, building your own or producing your own hardware, and like the cost and sustainability of something like this. Like, this also seems like just a huge endeavor, and you're up against a lot of very big companies. You're in a space where you're competing with a lot of companies. So I'm just curious, give me the history.
Sure.
How did this actually work?
I mean, as for myself, this is my first job, so there's not all that much history before Comma.
No kidding. That's great. How did you get roped in?
Huh?
How did you get roped in?
So I came to America because I was going to do my master's degree somewhere, and I saw a picture of the Santa Barbara University, and I was immediately sold. So I ended up there, and then when I was graduating, I looked what I wanted to do, and I knew about George, and I was really into the jailbreaking and the owning your own things. And then I saw he was kind of moving to cars with a lot of the similar ideas. And so, yeah, I mean, I was into that. I shot them an email, did some programming challenges, and then ended up there. So that's kind of where that started. And when I joined Comma was, I think, 1.5 years in or something. It was like 5 or 6 people. At the time, so there was like, there was an open source project that like, it did something, like it was lane key, like it was some type of ADAS. It was like lane keep on the highway. It worked on like a couple cars. And as for hardware, like there was no product. It was just, it was like a phone that was like reverse engineered, had some new stuff put on, and then other people could kind of copy that phone setup and like.
Okay, so it's a little bit like a setting up a graphene or something at that point.
Yeah, you just had to get a phone. You had to install the new software on the phone, and there's like some hardware. I think we opened the plans, and then they could like make the PCB with the plans, and then you could kind of go from there. So that's the stage that it was on, and then we kind of started making more of the hardware and started making the hardware more from scratch and less like repurposing. For a long time, our product was basically we would buy phones in bulk from China, and then we would gut like the battery out, and we would replace one of the cameras of the phone, put on our software, and then put the phone in like some kind of case. And then eventually now everything's actually purpose built and built from scratch to be like something that drives your car. Yeah, I mean, as for me, I mostly work on all the self-driving stuff. I haven't. I mean, I know about what's happened with the whole hardware trajectory, but I've been my job has just been working on the autonomy software and the machine learning mostly. But yeah, over time, I mean, things get slightly better. I think that the hardware is the one that's most striking in terms of the journey that it's come from, because it used to really be like it was clearly a hobby project at the beginning, but I think the product we have now looks like a real product. And if you install it in your car, it's not going to be embarrassing when you go on a date or show your family. Whereas it definitely used to be like that for a long time.
Yeah. No, I'd be proud. I'd be proud of a 3D printed, hacked together looking thing.
I mean, we sold 10,000 of those.
10,000?
10,000 3D printed.
Dude, you're an OG. You're an OG if you have one of those. That's awesome. so it's $9.99. Sorry, I just realized I don't even know like
Sure.
what the product. I've been considering getting it. My wife is I guess a Luddite in the sense that she's just like, I'm never. You want to test it out? You want to play with that? That's fine, but you're going to do it while I'm not in the car.
Yeah, that's a common reaction.
Yeah. Is I'll even just for fun the Volvo we have, and I assume that it will work on this. I'm not sure if it will work on the Nissan that we have. That one's like a 2017, I believe.
I don't know off the top of my head, but could maybe not.
I feel like the Volvo has to. It has lane assist. Like if
The Volvo may have like a different internal network architecture that has some I don't know how much in the details you want to go, but basically on the CAN network you can plug in and then anyone can send and receive messages. Some cars, I think the Volvo might be one of those, has like FlexRay that's more like point to point, and then we'd have to intercept the lines at multiple places, which makes it like slightly more complicated.
A little bit more to plug in or to like get it integrated.
Like sometimes the limitation is software that's not clear how we can send the right signals to get it to do what we want. Sometimes the limitation is hardware. The install may just be extremely hard or impossible. Like the most common car is like, you just have like where the rear view mirror is, you pop a piece of trim off, you plug it in, and you put the trim back on. It takes like 10 minutes. But yeah, it just depends on the car's like network architecture, and some of them have really weird ones.
How much do you, or how many different setups do y'all have to like what's the degree of compatibility and problems y'all have in plugging into all the APIs? Like, are y'all have like a list of things that y'all manage? Like, okay, is it still compatible with this one? Is it still compatible with this one?
Yeah, there's like a list of let's say 300 car models that we currently support. In terms of maintaining that, like it's an open source project. Like the community does help quite a bit with that. They do a lot of like the exploration and stuff, and the cars that don't so cleanly work right off the bat, the community will put in a lot of effort to make that work.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but I mean, as to your wife's hesitation, ultimately it's just cruise control. Really, it's just like better cruise control. Yeah.
Well, I showed her. It has lane assist. The Volvo has lane assist, which just will correct you. And I just took my hand off the wheel or whatever, and it was like goo goo goo, like kept in the lane. And it did it like 4 times before it started beeping at me. I was wondering how long it would do it. But there were no other cars around. Okay, I was being safe about it. But it's, I don't know. It's just it's always fascinated me, and unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know. I've always have to have like a project or a project car, one way or the other, and I haven't done it yet because we're still working on the basement. But we're getting close to that, and that's probably when I'll be like, I haven't had a project for like 5 days that has overwhelmed me and frustrated the hell out of me, and I'll just get a car and make it, self-driving.
But yeah, if you want to frustrate yourself, definitely try to install in a car that says it's not officially supported. If you get one that's clearly supported and we say should work, you'll probably have a not so frustrating time. But,
okay, what's the prime? What's the prime? Like it's just going to plug in and it's just going to work, and it's you've had great response and it's a decent car. Like, what's the top one?
I mean, the most common is like the Toyotas, like a lot of the Toyotas.
Okay.
But honestly, everything comes with some set of caveats. Like even in the Toyotas, there's going to be some models that don't support it or have caveats. It's unfortunately very difficult to give a clear answer to this. But our most popular cars are like the Toyota Corollas until like the last 2 years, and then a lot of Toyota RAV4s are very popular. Rivian is something that, like, because it's like a very tech savvy car and they don't have good ADAS off the bat, the Gen 1 Rivians is a very popular platform. I think we have
interesting,
like half or 1% penetration there, so like that many percentage of the Rivian Gen 1 users installed. Yeah, it's like a big thing in
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's a big thing in the like Rivian community, where because all these people like technology and they're upset about the shitty ADAS it comes with. So
how do y'all think about it from the context of like capital use. I watched a interview with Hotz, and as a number of years ago now, talking about what was it, Waymo, which I actually saw a Waymo car on the road when I was traveling not too long ago in California. But regardless, it was it was he was talking about how like insane it was that to do this this thing that comma is able to do with a phone, that they had raised like $1 billion or more dollars, and they'd basically burned through all of it making this car with like 18 radars and all this crap, and they still hadn't sat one out on the road that would actually like drive itself. And what was funny is just how stark the contrast, especially because this is such a common thread in like just kind of like sound money circles and like the the original Bitcoiners, is this idea of like you should not be wasting resources. Like money is a reflection of the fact that we have scarcity in real life. Shit costs stuff, and if you take stuff, you're explicitly taking it from somebody else's use. So you better make good use of it. And the VC and kind of like fiat finance enterprise is the exact opposite, right? It's just like, here's $1 billion, here's $1 trillion. Oh, we don't have enough money. We'll just print $1 trillion and throw it at stuff. And it was so refreshing to hear that interview, because it was like, it's just like, do you not realize that you're using up $1 billion worth of stuff? And like, how do you sleep at night? And I thought that comment was the thing that like kicked me. And this was like when I was like, oh, I was already interested in comma, but then like I heard that, and the idea of like, well, let's do this in a cost efficient way, was just like, oh my God, common sense. What do you know? But I guess my question from that is how how cost heavy is it to keep this thing running? How sustainable is the business? How big is the business? I'll have a serious little endeavor, and it's really cool. And I want to. I would love to think that I could do something similar, or that whether or not it's my project right now, or something I do down the road, it gives me hope that I see somebody like comma like actually succeeding. And I'm just curious, kind of what the biggest sustainability problems or biggest issues you guys have had over the years.
Yeah, we have this really innovative business model where we try to sell devices for more than it costs us to make, and then pay our bills with that. Absolutely crazy.
Wow.
Seems.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Everyone
I'm gonna write
seemed
that
very
down.
shocked by this. In terms of like concretely, I think by far the biggest challenge is resisting the free money. I think this is what kills everyone else long term. Obviously it's an open question whether this will kill the AI companies. I think it will, but yeah, I think that's ultimately where it always all goes wrong. It's very easy to give. I mean, you said
have you guys
$1 billion.
ever taken funding?
We have taken $18 million in funding.
Okay.
And we've made
but a more measured amount.
Yeah, I mean, it's an M.
Yeah.
We haven't. It's been, I think, over 5 years. I forgot exactly. 5 years since we last got funding. We have, I think, like $50 million in revenue now, lifetime. So our lifetime revenue is well above what we invested.
The raise. Nice. Yeah.
As for our current financials, last couple of months we were doing $1 million a month in revenue. We have 25 people. These are all very, very manageable numbers in terms of never raising money again. I think raising money is fine if like your plan to pay that money back isn't like some crazy black swan future event where you have to take over the world's entire AI supply, and then we will.
And then you can
return on your investment.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the biggest problem is it is extremely easy to inflate your valuations and to get a lot of funding. And I think this just puts you in this trap where, okay, well, you only have two ways out of that, which is you actually then live up to that, which is generally very hard. But then if you see that's hard, you're like, well, just raise again on more promises, and raise again on more promises. And I
it's
think,
either keep the Ponzi, keep the hype funding cycle going,
exactly,
or have like a black swan success event, or you just fail and you've set yourself up to not even be like a lean, sustainable company because you've trapped yourself in the I have to pay this back already.
Exactly, yeah. Once the numbers start becoming so big, and it's funny you said $1 billion earlier, because today that doesn't sound like anything anymore. $1 billion, that'll keep OpenAI or Anthropic going for like 3 weeks.
Oh God, it hurts. It hurts. So
I wish
much.
there was more companies that tried to operate in this space while having some regular small business mindset of like, okay, well, let's keep everything concrete and let's make sure that like these numbers work out relatively soon, not like in some far away distant future maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, like Waymo is a good, like, Waymo's cool. I like Waymo. I drove the Waymo. It's like honestly an awesome service, but it's like at this point almost a 20-year-old project and like $10 billion in the hole. Will they make that back? Maybe. I don't think so, but maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a kind of an advertisement for Google, so maybe it's all worth it for them in the end. But there's a lot of companies that are not like that.
It's a loss leader, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What's your? Give me your brain on AI. What's your take, your perspective on where things are, where things have gone in the last couple of years? Because, and I'll just give you a little aside or context, is like Pair Drive, the stuff we've been working on is like basically was going at a snail's pace, and I'm shocked by how much, especially this like kind of last generation, everything since like Opus, of AI has, like, I'm not a developer. Like I'll open up a terminal window and I'll have one open all day, every day, doing little things, but that's basically the extent of it, like sysadmin stuff, but I don't even have the patience. I run out of patience arguing with AI to write code for me. But holy crap, the amount of things that I have been able to custom build for myself, or that I have been able to custom build for myself, using LLMs has been just wild. In fact, I think I have a session going right now, like while we're talking, just double checking on stuff that it's not even like system stuff. So it's like very easily like front end stuff. So I can usually just let it go, but that's one of the reasons why I'm so hopeful. One of the things that you just brought up is that, like, I think there's more push for open source, and realizing when the privacy problem becomes so deep of it will hear my every thoughts. It will LS my entire computer and all of my files and folders, is why I'm super hopeful, is because like we can just build all of this, even using these, centralized look at your whole computer tools. What we can then build to get out of that is kind of staggering to me. And I'm just curious what you think about the current state, how it's affected what you guys are doing. I mean, you technically have an AI product in a sense, how it's changed has it changed your cost structure or time to delivery? Like basically, what's the whole map? What's the whole map of how AI has changed or not the last like 2 years for you guys?
I mean, I think the problem is that it's very hard to tell. And this is, I think, one of the big issues with all of this. I use LLMs, every day for sure. Do I use them for programming every day? Most days I use it for programming. Has it accelerated everything? I have not seen any obvious evidence for that it has accelerated anything we do. It feels like it. When you use it, it feels like it. But then if I abstract look at it, it's not super obvious to me that it has. I like LLMs a lot. I think they're great tools. I think there's a few things that are worth like separating. One is the LLMs are like a huge knowledge database, right? And
Yeah.
it just turns out that copyright sucks and IP sucks, and it's just great that someone found a way around this stupid issue. They managed to compress all of the world's books into like something you pay $20 a month for. I don't know. The Hollywood lobby like raided Kim.com's house in New Zealand over like some movies. I don't understand how no one's house got raided over this, but apparently this is a fine loophole.
Big enough with enough money. And,
yeah, so I think there's a lot of benefit from that. I think that's somewhat unrelated to AI. It's just a cool loophole. And then I think now there's like this agentic LLMs, I guess, which is like the ones that write programs, and like those are definitely useful to some extent, and I use them a lot. But I think there's a lot of hidden costs, and I think the hidden costs will take time to discover, and I guess we'll have to find out what that is, right?
Technical debt.
There's
so
technical
much
debt.
Technical debt.
Yeah, that's definitely a big problem, is a huge amount of technical debt. But there's other issues too, like, previously, I mean, it's even hard to think back now. If I would start on an issue from scratch and like write everything by myself, that sounds like super tedious, and that would take me a really long time. But by the time I did that, I would have this extremely deep understanding of what I did.
Yeah.
Now it's much more like, okay, it one shots it, and it's like 90% there, and then I gotta like, and there's like these issues, and I don't really understand
You
them.
have to figure out how it works.
Exactly, and then I guess I haven't really done the side-by-side projects, or I don't know if anyone has, to see, if you really want to get to like a very high quality at the end, and you go one way is to start from scratch writing it yourself, and you build understanding as you go. And the other way is like, it almost works immediately, and then you have to figure out these bugs and build understanding after. How different is the end result? Given the fact that like, technology hasn't like magically gotten better or more stable over the last year, I think I'm inclined to believe the difference isn't that big.
Yeah. No, I completely feel everything that you brought up there, because even the way that I think about it, it's the reason why, like, I've not really delivered anything built by AI. They're all custom, like my workflow stuff. Like it's kind of like personal scripts and personal apps to just have my process. And if it ever goes, usually I just build it until it works, and then I'm just reusing the same thing over and over again because it's a repeated process, like a transcription tool, or something simple. But in addition, is I'm constantly just giving a new model. If it ever breaks or something goes wrong, I don't have to deal with it on 100,000 machines. I deal with it on my computer.
Right.
And there's a reason why the project that we're working on, the engine underlying it, the library that will be imported that everything is using, is not built with AI practically at all. Like,
right.
And it feels like a 3D printer to me,
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
It's the hack together. We can build something very, very quickly. It's not perfect. It's not going to hold up very well. It's not super strong, but it gets the job done, and it proves that we can build this. Now let's think about like design and architecture and make it a real product, And I think there's a similar, probably kind of like 10x hyped cycle on top of it, where everybody's like, we're gonna have 3D printers, everybody's gonna print everything in their homes, and we're gonna be able to build, manufacture anything that we want. And it turned out to be this hobbyist prototyping thing largely.
Mm-hmm.
And LLMs might end up being a lot of the same thing, aside from the whole, probably million pieces of software where there is a single user for that one piece of software. Because it's built
I hadn't
for yourself.
thought about that analogy before, but I feel like that makes a lot of sense. 3D printing is relatively mature now, and a lot of people use 3D printing for their personal stuff, for like random one-offs, and it's great for that. And I love that 3D printers are around. But yeah, it's interesting how little effect it's had on industry. I mean, we sold 10,000 3D devices, but I think most people have not.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting. Like, I can't. God, I feel we've been working on this basement project forever, and I'm in, you can't tell it because I got a green screen behind me, but I'm in like this crowded mess of a storage unit, pantry, laundry, garage, office. and then we separate it out a little corner and we make it a nursery for my baby when she's taking a nap. So it's a mess. And I have this box over here that I look at every couple of days, like with this longing, because it is unopened. My brother got me a really nice 3D printer last Christmas, and I have not opened the thing. And I'm very excited to start playing around with it. But it just makes me sad. Have you personally worked a lot with like 3D printing and like building your own little tools or anything?
I have not actually, but that sounds like the exact same feeling with like every time there's a new LLM. Oh, great! I can do all these things now. What things?
Oh man. What's the so you work on the software side of this, right? So the self-driving thing. What's been how would you say that y'all's philosophy in even just the software stack is different and or the same than something like Tesla or Waymo? Like how do you deal with, like, y'all have one camera, right?
Yeah, one camera. Well, no, two cameras, but facing the same direction.
Two cameras facing the same direction. Okay, for 3D, I guess.
Yeah.
Well,
no, but not for just for one of them's narrow and one of them's wide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't actually
but
do
it's I don't mean it like 3D video, but I mean it like it's for depth, right?
No. You can't actually do good, like, at that length, you can't really do good depth. You need the cameras to be very far apart. Like even humans can't really do depth that, over, I don't know what the limit is, but maybe like 20 meters or something. I think that's, like all the depth perception humans have at long distance is more based on like context cues. I mean, you know how big a car is, right? So however big it looks, that's like...
Yeah.
No, but we need like high resolution far away and just go wide. So we just have the two cameras facing forward for that. And then we have an interior camera, but that's not used for driving.
Yeah. Wait, does this double as does it record? Can you record on the interior camera? Just have like a dash cam?
Yeah, you can.
Like, okay.
Sorry, by interior I mean facing towards the interior of the car. All the cameras are in the same.
Oh, well, I guess a dash cam is technically the record your traffic.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, sure.
But I meant it that like you could have. I mean it in the sense that like you watch a video of somebody getting pulled over and then you've got a camera inside the car like recording.
Yeah. It's not a great dash cam. There's like some features, but that's not its main purpose. But it can do that.
Sure. Yeah. Just a side question. It's just a thought. I'm trying to dual purpose this thing, right? I'm convincing myself to get one and convincing myself to build the argument for my wife to be okay with it.
Well, you can vibe code. I mean, the only reason the dash cam isn't great is just because we haven't really focused that much on the dash cam software. But you can vibe code your own dash cam app if you want.
Oh, what? It's open source and I have LLMs? What?
Exactly.
That's crazy. Oh, man. But anyway, because that was a little bit of a tangent. But on that point, like, how does the philosophy of like the fact that you guys have basically two cameras doing the whole job, like Waymo being the prime example here that we just brought up, was they have like a big light, like the one that I saw had like a big thing that's like spinning on top. That's like radar and sensors all over the thing. The thing looks like it's got warts. Like what's the why do they have all that stuff? Like what's the difference?
I mean, to start, we're making a different product, right? Like our mission is to solve self-driving cars while shipping shippable intermediaries. So like our goal is we want to make a useful product with self-driving technology and make money and keep making that technology better. Currently, this is an ADAS product. There's no obvious roadmap for us to go from what we have now to something like a Waymo where you can sit in the car with no driver, right? Like we're making a driver assistance system. Ideally, this driver assistance system drives the same or better than a Waymo, but we have no real immediate plan to like transition towards taking the driver out or anything like that. The driver has to pay attention. It's a convenience / luxury feature, and a lot of people like that. But in terms of what the technology we're actually developing, and the point is still it has to drive the car, it has to not crash, it has to drive comfortably. That's all the same as what everyone else is doing, whether or not they're trying to build robotaxis or not. I can go back a little bit in time, and when Comma started, there was this very clear philosophy of humans know how to drive, and we have a lot of data of that. So we're just going to find out a machine learning way to distill that driving knowledge into some neural network. At the time, this was pretty controversial. Everyone's like, "Whoa, humans aren't that great drivers." First of all, which I mean, that's a ridiculous thing to say because nothing drives better than a human.
Yeah.
Then, secondly, there was this thought of, well, that's very hard to control, and like you don't really have introspection, and you don't know how to tweak it, and you don't know how to verify it. And I'd say that disagreement existed for, maybe up to like 3-4 years ago, where players like Waymo especially, and then slightly less, but still somewhat Tesla, had pretty complex stacks that had like intermediate layers of like they detect children, they detect cones, they detect traffic lights, and they have some like logic on top of that can be either neural network based or not, that makes some decisions based on this information on the scene. And we were always like, no, that's, well, first of all, this is completely unmanageable for a small engineering team. Like the only way we're going to get this to work is if we don't have to manually do much at all. And it's really based on getting good data, getting a good algorithm, and then having compute. But, as time has gone on, everyone's kind of on board with this now. And no one questions this end-to-end approach really anymore. LLMs are also end-to-end. No one seems to question that all that much. And every now and again, someone mentions interpretability, but it's pretty well accepted that if you want real machine learning capability, you need to do it end-to-end. So that was a big divergence then. I think we're still more focused on doing it an extremely simple way than other people. Part of that is, we don't have many resources, so that's just impractical for us. But I do think this actually eventually leads to the best setup. Other people have some tricks to get around some certain problems. Generally, if it requires some kind of trick, that's not a very clean way of going from data to just a single big algorithm and compute to a result. We kind of don't do it.
Gotcha. What's the biggest problem? What's the biggest unexpected problem you guys have had over the years that just like you kind of had to rack your brain against?
I don't know about unexpected problem. I think the biggest problem is just that everything takes 5 times longer than. But I don't think it's one thing in particular.
What?
I think it's more everything together. I don't think there's not like standout problems, I would say. I mean, there's a lot of technical problems that I can talk about, but this is a general sense, I would say the problem is just that everything takes longer to do than it seems.
Yeah. What's your main focus lately? Like, are you just kind of doing maintenance and incremental improvements, or are you working on something very specific around what you guys have?
So we've let me talk about the technical aspect, and you can stop me if it gets too much.
I'm a nerd, so I love to get into the technical stuff and screw my audience if they don't get it.
So if you want to train a model to drive like a human, the naive thing to do is what's called imitation learning. You collect a lot of data of humans driving. You get like some kind of trajectory, right? Of like, okay, in 3D space, you're taking this drive. You collect all this data of humans, and you have a model that can predict that. So it looks at the video of the road, and it says a human would have driven this trajectory here. And then you have some like control system that implements that trajectory and tries to stick with that. It turns out that if you just train a model like that, this is like a famous problem in machine learning. It doesn't actually work in real life. It will make mistakes and slowly deviate from a good place. Like it'll be in the center of the lane and it'll slowly drift out. And because the human data set doesn't really contain examples of that happening and the human then recovering, it doesn't really react to that well. This is a really big open discussion about which aspects of this problem exactly cause that real problem and if there's ways to get around it or not. But let's just that's the big problem. And then one way to solve it, well, the way that we wanted to solve it is, okay.
So if I want to frame that like a little bit differently, it's that like if you give it only good data, there's like no context, like there's an assumption from the human perspective that it would be bad if this happened, but that's not in the data. So
Exactly.
the LLM doesn't care, or the machine learning algorithm doesn't care
Yeah,
that
exactly.
you just veered out of lane.
It has seen no examples of making slight mistakes and making clean recoveries because the humans tend not to make any mistakes, or they tend not to crash, at least. And then you have these small deviations, and if you don't recover over time, these deviations compound, and then that effect looks like over the course of 10 seconds you just drift out of lane. So you need to find a way to introduce data of these recoveries specifically, of like you drift slightly out of lane. Okay, now we need to recover
like
back
a negative
to lane.
prompt.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly. So that's kind of the base problem. And so there's multiple ways to solve this. One way would be to just detect the lane lines and tell the model, okay, go back to the center of the lane lines, which is, that's kind of the solution that Waymo and Tesla had for a long time. And I mean, even us had that for a long time, but really wanted to transition to something that was like, okay, but what is like a real fundamental machine learning way to solve this? Obviously, the data contains the information because humans are always in the center of the lane. So like, that's a good thing, right? Should be able to learn that. So one way to solve this is you can just have a simulator where you let the agent that you've trained act, and it will then drift out of lane in the simulator because that's what it does. And then we can say, oh, well, clearly that was bad because, in the original data, that didn't happen. So you can teach the model, like, you drive in simulation and make sure that over time, your driving looks like that of the human, right? And so then we can kind of let it make mistakes and show it what recoveries look like.
So kind of like the whole AlphaGo thing.
Yes,
you let it train. It plays itself and then finds out what does and doesn't work. Because you actually have a environment that you can give it that has explicit boundaries and goals or whatever. It's like a game with a set of rules. Interesting. Okay, and then that's literally what y'all have done.
Well, there's a few more.
Okay, keep going. Sorry, I interrupted.
So that's, I guess, like the base idea that we had maybe, let's say, 8 years ago. Now this brings up a huge question: is a Go simulator is very simple. That's 100 lines of code.
Yeah.
What is a simulator for driving? That is not as easy. So there's like video games, right? Like Grand Theft Auto is like a great driving simulator. But there's many reasons why you can't use that, right? Because it doesn't capture first of all, Grand Theft Auto is not realistic, but it doesn't capture the full diversity of.
Wait, what?
No, but there's actually funny things that there are funny things that are not realistic that you didn't know. Like the roads are wider for the width of the car, so that you can go between other cars at like a stop sign. Because otherwise, it's not fun. But like, I didn't know that until I
smash through things.
I was like, wow, Grand Theft Auto seems super realistic, but no, apparently they like tweak some things so that it's more fun to play. That I actually never noticed. But anyway,
that's wonderful.
Video games have this problem where if you want to capture the full diversity of the human world, like someone needs to make assets, like 3D game assets to capture that diversity. And this is like an endless project, right? You'll never capture all of it. You'll always be missing something. So we need a simulator that is like somehow inspired by the real data, which we have a lot of from everywhere in the world. And so what we did for a long time was extremely hacky. We had a video of the original drive. You can like estimate the depth of everything in the scene, and then you can re-project the image as though you were somewhere else, right? So you can do like some 3D geometry, and this has a whole bunch of problems. Like it doesn't capture reflections. It doesn't capture the fact that if you're in a new place and you didn't know, you couldn't see from the original perspective, now you have you have gaps and occlusion. So it has all these problems. It creates like a pretty crappy simulator. But basically, that's what we used for many years. And then now, most recently, we shipped this the beginning of this year, and which was a huge achievement for us. We have a simulator that's just a machine learning generative model, like the ones that generate video, but it's basically a simulator in that it generates video of the road, and you can give driving actions, and it will implement those driving actions. And that model is trained on all the real driving data, so it like captures the full diversity of our data set. So that's how it works now.
Wow. So wait a second. So you have basically a machine learning system that produces a believable driving environment as your simulator for your other machine learning
to
things
learn
to drive on. And, oh, that's awesome. That's great.
I think that we had a paper in 2016 that laid out this like idea, but back then there was actually really no way to generate like realistic video or images with AI.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
it's funny to see it in retrospect. We had like all these primitive ideas of, this sounds possible, but I don't know how.
But that's just never going to work.
But 10 years later, I mean, we certainly didn't think it would take 10 years, but 10 years later, all the machine learning progress has actually led us to a place where, you can actually do this. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's pretty wild. So this is only like that part of it is only like a year old?
We've been working on it for say like pretty hard, maybe like 2 to 3 years. And then, this year is like when the beginning of this year, we actually shipped it to open pilot release, thinking it was like a major improvement.
Gotcha. It reminds me of, who was this that did this? Corridor Digital, I think, did a video on this. But it was right kind of at the beginning of when we were getting the kind of explosion of like machine learning that's good enough to actually be impressive. The ChatGPT moment sort of thing. And there was I believe it was called a Gaussian splat, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that sounds right.
But I do editing and film is actually my original background. And I still am, I do the show or whatever, so I still end up doing a ton of that stuff. And so I'm always interested in like how you can use it and integrate it like into effects, not just like pure like I'm gonna type in a prompt and generate a video. But it was just a fascinating. I mean, I guess y'all probably use something similar to that, maybe. But because you're using actual video to then produce the environment. But it was wild. It was just wild how like the lighting and the reflections and all of this stuff. Like, it's not something that was trained or like programmed into it. It was just like the model, the way the model interpreted things was so accurate that it would just reproduce these things that, other people had spent, decades perfecting in 3D environments and, having their own engine for. And it was so cool to just kind of like see it. But it just made me think of that. And I was just curious if that was kind of related to how the model works.
So our like main simulator model is not a Gaussian splat model. It's much more similar to like if you like generate images with ChatGPT or something, or like a diffusion model. It's basically the same architecture as that. It's just except conditioning on like your prompt, we condition on like your driving actions basically. So like it produces an image that's supposed to be consistent with the driving actions you gave in the same way that when you ChatGPT an image, it produces an image that's supposed to be consistent with the prompt you gave. A Gaussian splat's like a bit more geometric. We use Gaussian splats for testing and stuff, but it's I don't think you can't generate like completely novel things with the Gaussian splats. Like you can't have the scene like evolve in the future in some new way. It's more about like reprojecting like an existing 3D scene. Whereas our models, I mean, they're not quite there yet in terms of intelligence, but they should be able to just imagine anything that could happen on the road. So you could just let the simulator run and like then, pedestrians appear and all these things. So yeah.
How do you guys have a way to, I mean, of course you have a way that you try, but how do you kind of benchmark or see how much better this method or this modeling style is versus the previous simulator and that sort of thing? Like how do you kind of judge the success of this?
Like we have like a whole entire test suite of like running the driving model in simulation under many different conditions, and we have all these metrics of like, okay, it detected this many green lights, or it made this many lane changes successfully, or it deviated this far from the center of the lane in all these different cases. And some of those tests are like based on real data, some of them are like fully artificial. There's just like a whole suite and just a few hundred numbers, and the ones who are training the models generally have a vibe for which numbers are important and which ones aren't.
Yeah. This is a little bit off topic, but I'm just curious actually before I get into that, how are you guys all in like spread out all over the place, or is like a lot of the team actually in one location, like together? Like how's that work?
we have an office, like I'm in San Diego now, and basically almost everyone is here. We have like a couple employees that work remotely and then will come in several times a year. But the idea is that everything is on site in the San Diego office.
Yeah, I was about to ask that because, like, I work with a team, like really small team, but basically nobody is in the same place. But I have a bit of I guess, a traditionalist in me that's like, we should have a location and like we need to get everybody together. But that also seems sort of insurmountable with the way we do the work that we're doing, especially, and because that is a cost in a lot of ways as well. Um, but I guess I'm just, you guys produce like a hardware, like you actually produce a product, so it's a little bit different. But I was just curious how y'all think about that if y'all have everybody in one location, because obviously that's a cost, and then obviously you have a pool of people that uh you have physical access to as opposed to you know remote access to.
Yeah, I mean,
Basically, what's the limitations or benefits of that?
obviously, if you're working on hardware, if you're working on production,
Yeah,
it's not really
you
feasible to
have
be
to have a
remote. Yeah,
place.
but
Yeah,
I mean, I manage almost exclusively software engineering, and I wouldn't
yeah,
hire anyone remote right now unless,
yeah.
I mean, an exception hasn't come along yet that would make me change my mind about that. But currently, that's my opinion. I think um, it is much harder to stay motivated and to stay in the loop if you are not physically here. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I think it would
Hmm.
put a lot more burden on the manager to make sure uh, that those things don't cause problems, and that's
Yeah,
just not currently how we work.
yeah. No, that makes sense. And it's funny how everything went remote in like 2020 and 2021. Like there was such an explosion, and then it turned around so hard too. I mean, it hasn't obviously completely turned around, but uh, it's just kind of funny to see. Which is a little bit funny analogy in the context of self-driving, is that we tend to overcorrect. We oversteer in one direction every single time. I think we're doing that right now with LLMs and thinking that like AI is going to replace all these people, and it's like, yeah, man, but you have any idea how many hours I have argued with AI and then gone and called up or messaged somebody that I know personally to solve a problem? Calls like, what do you do? What do you do when that thing sends you down the wrong path?
Yeah.
But and I think we'll overcorrect again. Like we tend to oversteer and go back.
I mean, I think there's like some good things that came out of that, right? It's like, I mean, at our office, for example, there are no hours. We provide lunch and dinner, which motivates most people to come
That's
in
awesome.
around lunch
Yeah,
and
that's
and be there
awesome.
for dinner. I think
Yeah.
that's good. If people don't want to, they want to have a different schedule, they can have a different schedule. If you want to work from home
Hmm.
one afternoon or whatever, or a day, or that's all fine. I think that's a good change. Companies that were super strict about coming in at a particular time. I mean, unless there's a necessity for this, right? There's a necessity
Yeah.
for this. Like if you gotta, I don't
Your
know,
own customer support is like,
yeah,
I'm going to show up at
yeah.
12:30 today.
Obviously that's important, but like if your job doesn't have any schedule, then why do you have to be on a schedule? That's one of the things that came out. I think that's great. And sometimes if
No,
you
I
if you
agree.
want to be at home and you got to do something, why not work from home? But like just as like a
Mhm.
permanent thing, I think there's challenges that can be overcome but are not super trivial to overcome.
Yeah. Yeah. So, one of the things that I've done since this LLM, uh, being able to build things with LLMs, is probably a bad thing, is that I've decided to. I have a bad habit of if I know how something could be built, I think, oh, I'll just do it myself. And which is kind of why the state of the house is the way it is. And then I just get so frustrated or impatient with the situation that I'm like, I'm just going to hire somebody and I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to throw it at them and I'm going to close my eyes and not care, what the result is. But because of that, LLMs have made me very confident in my ability to take on a bunch of little side projects. And I am curious. if you have a side project or something that you're building around these kind of like same ideas, or if you're just totally like focused on comma and everything you're doing there, or if you're like me and you decided to build 2 extra things in your spare time.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'd say I don't have side project. I recently had a child, and I think
Hey,
that's all there is in my life. Is that and
yeah. How
and
how old's the kid?
18 months now.
18 months.
Yeah.
So my baby girl is 15 months,
Oh, nice. That's pretty similar.
almost 16 months. And then I got a 4-year-old little dude that just turned 4.
Oh, nice.
And I feel that very very real is this after I'm done with my crap that is all consuming.
It becomes the new side project.
Yeah. That's awesome. Congrats. 18
Thanks.
months. So they just started talking or just
I'd
started
say,
communicating. Really.
I tell people she's really in her reinforcement learning phase. She will, if I point at objects she has not seen, like if I point at objects she knows, she will say the word she knows for it. And if I point at objects she's never, or she doesn't know the word for it, she'll just say random words until we react positively. She'll just make up syllables, and she's like, one of these is going to work out. She is so confident.
Oh, that's great. No, it's so crazy because she just crossed into that zone of where like babbling turned into some form of like real communication, and we can realize she's trying to communicate something, or she'll just point and be like, this thing over here, and it's so entertaining.
It is.
God,
it's really
so
funny.
entertaining.
It really makes me happy.
Yeah, dude. There is little joy and frustration that matches being a parent.
Yeah, fully agreed.
Actually, just how has that affected kind of how you see direction and like what you're building and like kind of goals? Like I feel like it changed my perspective a lot on that sort of stuff.
I think it made me much more of a Luddite, I would say.
It did. It did. It's so much, especially for somebody who's like super deep into tech. I just like, man, I don't want a smart refrigerator. God bless it. Throw that shit away.
No, it definitely made me, but also like with all the AI, like I feel like before it was like, it was always like, if this all turns to shit, like this is kind of entertaining. But now I'm like, well, I want to take away like, her future. I want her to not be screwed over by this. So I feel like I see a lot of the like technology, social media stuff in a very different light. Before it was like, yeah, that sucks, and like that's kind of funny. But now it's like that sucks. And
you were
like,
detached from it, right?
Yeah, and now I'm like, I don't want that like to affect. I want my kids to have the same, opportunities that I did, and and like I see things much more in that light now.
Dude, I have a Bitcoiner friend who's a developer, and he's like all into like the craziest tech, and he's constantly building stuff on like Nostr and all this stuff. And but then he'll post and he's like, my little girl is not allowed to watch. Like they have like a strict 0 screens, like no screens whatsoever, which I cannot even pull off. I think about it from like a healthy standpoint is that like, okay, we heavily regulate, and the only time if there's punishment, it's almost always just like no screens, so that he's just kind of like forced to be out and doing stuff, But dude, like that's a level of like discipline that is hard to pull off. Since you kind of have a similar perspective on the whole social media and stuff, I'm curious how you, with an 18-month-old, do you have any fun strategies or lessons that you've learned?
Yeah, we try to do no screens. I mean, except like FaceTime with the family.
Sure. Yeah, that's a little different.
Yeah, no, but no screens besides that. I don't know. It's been working so far, but we've only got the one, so I think as those increase, you got to relax the rules maybe a little bit.
Yeah. How many are you going for?
I don't know. More, I guess, is the answer.
More?
I don't know how many more until it's too many.
Yeah, we'll see at 3. Our like stated goal has stayed at 4 kiddos. But
that already requires a big car, so
Right,
5 requires
right.
a
Like we
bus,
got.
so then that's maybe too many.
Oh, that's yeah. You've when you got the church van,
Yeah.
like
I think that's
you
this
probably
becomes
reached your limit.
impractical.
um. Uh. Oh man. Yeah. Kids will change how you think about that. I find it funny that you had a similar. I've had a couple conversations like that, and people have kind of come to the same kind of conclusion: is that like, oh no, all this stuff with technology is no longer just like entertainment. It just makes you realize that, oh Jesus, I have like there's a degree of responsibility of protecting someone from it, like
Right.
because it will be left for her or him.
Yeah.
Um, uh,
I mean, I just have a lot. I guess a lot of thought that I have a lot is like, well, my life is pretty good. If I could give that same
yeah,
life to someone, that's like a success. So I'm like, if we
yeah,
stop all this right now, that's like a guarantee, right? so
yeah.
I feel like, so I feel like that
We
does
just
inspire.
calm down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a lot. I love technology. I think we should keep improving it. We should just
Of
make
course,
some
you should
sensible
own it.
decisions. But I see where the mentality comes from much more now.
Yeah, yeah. No, I 100% agree. Um, I'm curious. Your like, if you weren't working on comma, um, what would be the sovereignty like own your own thing project that you would most likely be driven that annoys you so much that you'd be driven to actually do something about it?
Oh, definitely social media. I absolutely hate social media with such a
Yeah.
passion, and I hate all the
Yeah.
companies that do it. And I wish nothing for them to fail. And if I could accelerate that in any way, I would try really hard.
Are you a Noster guy at all? Do you even know that what Noster
No,
is?
I don't know. I installed Blue Sky, and then like,
Wait. Oh, Blue Sky. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
That's
I don't
a
know. Wait, but Nostr is also a Twitter equivalent, or no? Or am I misunderstanding it?
sort of. So I think of Noster as PGP actually kind of done the way it ought to be done,
Okay.
even though it's not treated that way. But most of the apps that use it, like Primal or Damus or Amethyst, they're very much like a Twitter replacement style
Okay, I see.
thing. But largely, what I think it's actually kind of like underappreciated, like what it actually is. Because it's got like Bitcoin and Zaps like just kind of like tipping and paying for stuff like built into
Mm-hmm.
the protocol because you can pay directly to a key. Um, and so because of that, like it's really just kind of like a distributed yellow pages where it doesn't really matter what relay or where you get the information from. You just know this note is from this person that you follow. So it's got like a relay network. And it's the first semblance of something to me that actually seems like it has real potential. But I also think the idea of just purely recreating social media isn't quite the optimal thing to do with it, you know?
Right.
Um, it's kind of a side thing of like you can also do this. But like PGP and like trust web of trust networks have been this thing that, cypherpunks and people in internet history have been trying to make work forever and ever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because Noster pseudo solved it, at least in the community and kind of the cypherpunk Bitcoiner space, um, almost by happenstance because it was trying to just be able to do social messages.
Mm-hmm.
And the example that I bring up is there's a analyst and writer, Lynn Alden. She does some really cool like macro financial stuff or whatever, and I've done a lot of narration and stuff for her. And so we worked together a couple different times on projects. And one time she wanted me to just do like editing and mastering on like some little thing that she had pulled together. And uh, and then after I was done, she was like, "What do you want me to pay you or something like that? What's the what are you charging me here or whatever?" And I was like, it's not that big a deal. Just send me like 100,000 sats or something." And she was like, "Okay, can I just zap you on Noster?" And we are like, "Yeah, yeah, sure." And then it like hit both of us like a couple days later is that I didn't have to send an invoice. I didn't like there was nothing there. She knew who I was because of my key, and she went
Mm-hmm.
like the payment was verified and then sent through that, and she could just pay me without any interaction whatsoever. She just pushed money to me. Um, and it was also private in the sense that I'm not having like a public thing with a record that she can check that somebody else can just check and be like, "Oh, what's happening over here?" And it just made me realize, or made me think of the whole thing more as just kind of like a public directory for, you sign something on GitHub to prove that it's from this developer. Well,
Right.
you could just publish it on Nostr too, and you've done that same thing. And so anyway, it just got me. It's gotten me really excited about like kind of like the direction that whole thing could go. But these decentralized projects, they always have, there's plenty of postmortems for things like that. So everything has its drawbacks, but we are utilizing it for the project that we have, and I think it's got a massive potential. I'm at least going to try.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, see, I'm a massive hypocrite. I keep complaining about all these things, and I don't know anything about any of these solutions.
Yeah, you should check it out. If you get some free time, you should just investigate. But if that ends up not being the direction, it's just something to entertain.
But I really like these things. Like I really hope this is where the future. I mean, even like Bitcoin. Like I generally hate the entire crypto space, but like
God,
the idea sounds good.
Yeah.
And like
crypto is such a poison on like what Bitcoin was actually trying to do. I've been in it long enough that I was there before crypto, and and holy shit, crypto just turned the whole.
Yeah, it's so sad. It's such a good idea
of everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still think there's a thread. I still think what Bitcoin's trying to do, not to turn it into this, but Bitcoin Audible. I still think like the thread of what Bitcoin was trying to do, of like, I think about it just without getting into some crazy tangent, is the fiat world is only the people in power can print money, right? It's the government and the central banks print money, and everybody else just pays for that cost. Then crypto is, no, everybody can print their own money, and we're all going to have a million monies. And Bitcoin is just like, nobody can print money. Like the whole point is that we shouldn't print money, So like, and I believe that is still working. It's just, it's moving its way into the financialization stage, and crypto is still just the gambling shit casino that it has always been. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to talk about this too. I don't know if we're going on a tangent here, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, that vision sounds great. I've always liked that about it. It's just it seems to have not made much progress in that problem, and has made a lot of progress in a lot of other dumb things.
That's the thing about software, like open source software. Somebody just copies it and then puts their shit onto the token or whatever. I'll say the reason I'm super hopeful and still think like Bitcoin is actually on that mission is because the network effects of money, there's nothing that can compete against it. But it is also the slowest network effect. Like if you look at like economics and monetary history is like my real nerd out, and if you look at monetary transitions, like it typically lasts 100 years. And especially when you're talking about foundational monetary shifts. And I think Bitcoin is just a unique way to create consensus around who owns what, without a central party.
So, but you're saying, things look good. It's just slow. I mean,
it's super slow.
Yeah,
it's super slow.
I mean, this is kind of like Linux, right? This is a big conversation now, which is, desktop Linux. I don't know how much you know about this, but desktop Linux has always been like this meme of like, or desktop Linux is finally coming.
It's the era of desktop Linux. Flat packs. App images finally.
But the joke is that, actually it's kind of actually happening now. And
it's always been. It's sort of always been. How much infrastructure runs on Linux? Right?
Well, I mean, that's always been, but like I have a computer at home now, it runs Linux. I mean, for me, really the main problem is gaming. Is a computer at home, the main reason for that, other than my laptop, is gaming, and
some media stuff too. Some media stuff. It's the reason I still have a MacBook.
Oh, it's better on Mac.
Yeah, like editing stuff. A lot of it works on Linux now. But DaVinci Resolve will still give me problems on Linux. But I have a remote desktop open right now to my Linux machine, which is the one doing a lot of my app programming and stuff and my LLM work on my MacBook. Like, so I'm porting. I always have my Linux machine is always a window on my Mac to work with stuff. So,
but that, I mean, it's going a good direction. So you know.
Mm-hmm.
And to bring it back to OpenPilot, I think that's the dream for OpenPilot too. Is may take 20 more years, but I think there's a good chance of OpenPilot being the like genuine most popular open source kind of even robotics project. It's not going to grow overnight. It's not going to get a $1 trillion of cash injection to boost it. It's just going to be
Yep.
a slow kind of thing. And
yeah, I think about it in the sense that like the open source project that gets the most excitement and is kind of the most robust, slow moving thing is the thing that survives.
yes,
Right? All the move fast break things will blow up very, very quickly, but then they also die.
yes,
And that's kind of my thesis for Bitcoin, and has been for quite some time, is that Bitcoin will simply be the thing that keeps working when everything else blows itself up.
I mean, yeah, that the problem is that centralization is still working too well for many people, and I mean, I guess we are both in agreement, so that's going to blow up at some point. But
yes. I think centralization is just the quickest solution to hard problems, right? So every time you open up a new layer of technology, like every new technology opens up the avenue to create and discover more than the solution actually fixes,
Mhm.
right? Like if you can finally go into space, like because you have a rocket ship or whatever, the scope of things to now learn or see or new problems to solve is much greater than the solution that you just presented. So one solution
Mhm.
presents 20 new problems in a new layer, right?
Right.
Which means that those 20 new things, in the context of like networks and internet and all this stuff, the first solution to all those 20 things is centralization. So you know, Bitcoin, it as just as our example is, you know, it creates a new consensus layer where there is no central bank, and you can actually securely know that everybody has who owns or prove the ownership of your money, and it can't be money printed, but it doesn't scale worth shit. So now you have to create payment networks and financialization on top of it. What's the quickest way to do that? Centralization. You create a service that does it holding somebody else's Bitcoin. And that's the whole 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Mm.
And that's also another reason why I think, you know, like transitions like that, it's like the internet. It's like the internet, you know, how long is the internet? It's 40 years old, and or at least 30 from the web's perspective.
Yeah.
And how many times has it solved some great problem and then also created some great centralization problem immediately after, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah, the social media one is one that I'd like to see fixed. I
mhm.
guess I don't know. I don't know if this is something we want to talk about now, but for me, the biggest problem is just that the people who own the servers, who own the content discovery mechanism, who own the content hosting mechanism, is all the same. And like that just seems like a huge flaw. Like there needs to be some open protocol in some of those layers. And I don't know how to
Oh my
achieve that.
God. You just gave the synopsis of the talk that I just gave at the Time Chain Summit. Like literally exactly what it was. And I think my thinking about the solution and our project, whether or not it actually does it or not, you know, I'm not going to be arrogant and be like, we're solving this. Is that the server is just the server, right? Is that
Right.
you know the content, because that is the problem. That is the problem. Is the social media owns the content as soon as you give it to them.
Yes.
Like it was hilarious. Like, you know, if somebody like that's your way to connect to it. And I think about it as the context of like the internet was designed to connect one device or one server to another. And then when we created websites, it was like, okay, well, people want to connect to businesses. But then we realized that what we actually wanted to connect to was other people. But we had no protocol for people.
Mm-hmm.
So we created centralized websites and then created profiles that were owned by the website. And there was no way to connect directly to that person. So you had to go through that entity, and suddenly they own the content, they own the network.
Right.
If you say something to imagine that this conversation right now, if somebody sees that we're saying something that they don't like, they could literally turn off our conversation. You know, like
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's like we have like a DJ and like a party and they're listening to all the group conversations and they can just like turn down the volume of one person who's saying something, like move them away from the conversation and boost the guy who's talking about football, like
Yeah, no, that's what's happening. It's crazy.
yeah, that's exactly what's happening. And so like you have to make it so that the content can be delivered with or without the server. And so the server's just helping, right? The server's uptime, and that you can prove the content is from that person and that the network and the identity is separate from the thing. So you still carry your profile and who you are around with you, whether you're on Facebook or Twitter or whatever it is. So yeah, that's the way that I think about the problem too, is that and that's also why I'm very hopeful about something like Nostr, is that that's what that did.
I mean, I think where we probably differ in opinion is that I think I'm not sure whether the solution here is like technical solutions are always nicer when they work, but I think a regulatory solution here might also work, and I'm not sure if you agree with that.
What do you think? What do you think? I generally probably wouldn't, but I'm not. I'm a little bit more of a Luddite, and in my older age and parenting years, and I love discussing. I want to hear what you think about. Like, give me your regulatory approach. Like, why is it that you think regulation is the, at least the short path to a solution?
I think I don't really like, as much as I want to be a libertarian and like a technology only kind of person. I think historically, like, regulation has just done a lot of good things, and I think, like, to give a most explicit example of something that should be absolutely illegal is Apple's iMessage situation, where like they rejoice when like a teenager gets a green text and like thinks negatively about that person because they sent a text from a non-iPhone. The fact that like they're allowed to do that to like a critical messaging infrastructure in a country, I think is just absolutely baffling. And I think like that's just something that should be illegal. And like I trust the U.S. government, less than most people, but I think some of those are just clear wins. And the social media one's much more complicated, right? Because then you need some regulatory framework of like, how do you enforce that there's like open protocols between the website, the hosting of the content, and the discovery of the content, and the owning of the content? That's much harder. And like, I'm more open-minded about that. But the iMessage thing, I'm like, how the fuck is that legal?
Yeah. And building the technical solution does not mean that, like, having the solution doesn't mean that it's used. You have network effects working against you in so many different ways. And like, nobody cares about a social network if there's no people on it. It's like, if you're the only person with a phone, who are you going to call? Might be the best technology in the world, but there's nobody to pick up the other end.
And the people who run the current setups, are very incentivized to prevent
that.
And like YouTube provides an extremely good hosting service for free, because they know that if they introduce enough friction, because there is real friction in hosting, and if they remove that friction, it just makes it so much, that just makes the gradient flow so much more towards them, because everyone's like, oh, do I really want to like set up a video hosting server and then put the video there?
Yeah.
So like,
no, 100%. And then you get in that situation where it's like you have somebody who wants to send you content, like, I'm following Harald, right? And Harald posts a video, and like he's posting that so that the people who follows him can watch the video, but then like the platform doesn't let me download it. Like the platform immediately owns it, and they're like, this person wants to send this video to this other person, but we're going to stop it right in the middle, and we're going to put our ad on it, and we're going to take control over it, and like we're going to be the ones that monetize it, and we're not even going to let you take it and go somewhere else with it.
Yeah, but so I take it you're skeptical of I guess regulatory solutions to this problem. You're all in on the technical solutions.
So my thinking on, there's a fantastic theory, political theory, called the Bootleggers and the Baptists, and it comes from Prohibition days, and I do not think that that regulation doesn't solve or cannot do something good, but it almost invariably comes because they have given up two bad things at the same time. It's always a trade, right?
Mhm.
And so the idea of the bootleggers and Baptists is that prohibition got enforced because the Baptists put up the kind of um, philosophical, moral front ends that was kind of the cheerleading, like alcohol is bad and the moral argument to make people sympathetic to it. And then the people who actually funded the regulations and the law being put in place were the bootleggers who were going to, like, just their profits were going to go through the roof and all of their competition was going to be legally, like, the police were going to go in and shut them down.
Mhm.
Um, and so I'm a pessimist when it comes to regulatory solutions because oftentimes, and I'm not saying this is universal, but the exception usually proves the rule kind of thing, is that when regulation does do something good, I'm usually sitting back and going like, I'm going to go read that bill and see what those two bad things were that are now going to be the new problems that we have to solve.
Right.
So I'm a bit of a pessimist when it comes to that. And a lot of history seems to point in that direction. But, there's a lot of knowing anything about history means that you also 99.9% don't know because history is always bigger than,
Right.
what you can actually discover. But I love half of the show is me trying to dig into alternative perspectives. And I've also become a little bit more conservative, a lot more conservative. In my old age and parenting. So I'd still call myself a libertarian and pseudo anarchist kind of thing.
Yeah, you
But
can never go too
there's no
far with
easy.
the
There's no
anarchy.
easy. There's no easy solution to anything. That's kind of where I've come about.
And everything's a compromise, right?
Everything's a trade off. It's Thomas Sowell, one of my favorite economists. It says there are no solutions. There are only trade offs.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I mean, in this
Yeah.
case, yeah. Even though I think some regulations might be on net good, I have zero doubt that every one of them would come with some sort of these types of side effects.
The earmarks
Exactly,
would be huge. Oh God. Well, hell, we're kind of coming up on the end of time. This has been fascinating. I'm so happy that you came and sat down with me. I've been super intrigued with Comma, and I will probably be a buyer of your product relatively soon. It will be after
Great
the
to hear.
basement gets finished. But I am generally curious, just like what are kind of like plans and next steps? You want to see Open Pilot being like one of those things that would just be the main thing, and like maybe some other company even picks it up and goes further or helps build on top of it. And open source advocate always,
Yeah.
I'm curious what's the vision and do you intend to stick with these guys or do you have other plans to build on other things or join other stuff? Like
Um,
where's your head on it?
no, I'm pretty passionate about keeping this going. I think all of the
Nice.
things I'm passionate about. A few things I'm very passionate about is one, our system isn't as capable as it can be. We to give you an example, like stoplight behavior, like stoplights and stop signs, that's like 70% reliable.
Yeah.
Whereas like highway driving, you can use it for hours and like just have a
Yeah.
really great, comfortable experience. So I really want to get like the city driving, all of that to that same level. I think I'm super passionate about that. I feel like that's what I joined 10 years ago, thinking it was going to be a 3-year project to do, and I'd like to wrap that up. But I'm also very passionate. Like we run our own data center. We are getting out of the cloud as much as we can. Basically, nothing we do internally is in the cloud. And I'm very excited about that. I think it's really
That's
cool to
awesome.
prove the point that not only can you make an AI product without billions of dollars, but you can make an AI product relatively cheaply while owning all of the hardware and doing everything on site. I think a lot of people are skeptical that this is even possible, but it's obviously possible because we're doing it now. And so I really want to keep pushing on that. And then the last thing is, OpenPilot is currently an ADAS product, but OpenPilot's really intended to be a open source robotics project, and cars are just a robot, and it's going to expand to other robots at some point. I don't know when the right time is, but when that happens, I'll be very excited to see how that goes.
That's awesome. Are the humanoid robots are coming?
I think there's going to be some things in between. first.
Somewhere in between? What? No, it's a light switch. You just get those humanoids running out there and doing work for everybody.
Yeah, that's ambitious.
Dude, what are you talking about? 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. 3 years turns into 20. That sounds about right.
Dude, it's my 3-year, 20-year, 2-decade project. Right?
Exactly.
2 weeks TM. Oh man. Well, dude, thank you for coming on. How do people follow you? Where should people link? What should I link to? All that good stuff. I mean, obviously, comma.ai, that sort of thing.
Just comma.ai, our website, our Twitter, and I guess my Twitter. That's probably about it.
Awesome.
All right. This was a pleasure.
Dude, hit me up. It's been an absolute pleasure. Let me know. I'm going to keep an eye on it, and I may hit you up again in the future. DM me if you ever need anything. You got any questions? Check out Nostr.
We'll try it out. Yeah. I gotta put my money where my mouth is. I gotta actually start trying these stuff instead of just complaining.
There you go. All right, man.
All right. Thank you. This was such a pleasure.
So much. Take it easy, dude. Thank you guys for listening. Don't forget that the easiest way to support this show is honestly to subscribe, to share it out, to use my affiliate link and get yourself a Bitbox, which is actually the best thing that you can do for yourself is hold your own keys and save your Bitcoin in a smart way. And don't forget to check out Harald. Don't forget to check out comma.ai. If you have a car that's compatible with this and you you get one of these guys and you try it out, please let me know. I would love to actually geek out. You can send me a DM or you can hit me up on Nostr, or Keat if you find me up there as well. I definitely want to hear from you. I'm fascinated if anybody else is done with this because I've been trying to convince myself to just go ahead and bite the bullet and just go do it just to see. But man, this was a great conversation. This was an awesome conversation and really happy that he came on the show. Harald, thanks again. Seriously. And that should wrap us up. I'll have links, details, ways to follow him and the company and everything that they're doing right down in the show notes. So don't forget to check out the description. And I will catch you on the next episode of Bitcoin Audible. And until then, everybody, that's our 2 cents.